Welcome back to Blessed on Two Wheels. I'm Dennis.
And I'm Nestor.
This show is about rider safety, awareness, and supporting families of fallen riders. Today, we're covering a tough but important subject, motorcycle fatality statistics in the United States.
It's not easy to hear, but these numbers tell the story of why safety gear, insurance, and awareness matter so much.
Exactly. Behind every number is a rider, a family, a community forever changed. We would like to thank one of our greatest supporters, the motorcycle safety lawyers. The motorcycle safety lawyers specialize in representing victims of motorcycle accidents. They also offer free services like insurance policy reviews and free case evaluations. Give them a call at 888-500-9000. Again, that is Motorcycle Safety Lawyers, 888-500-9000. I want to point out it takes time for the yearly statistics to be published in relationship to accidents from the government.
Yeah, so we will be sharing the latest statistics from 2023 in the U.S.
Let's start with the big picture. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in recent years, over 6,000 motorcyclists are killed annually in the United States.
And that's heartbreaking. Motorcycles make up a small fraction of vehicles on the road, yet the fatality rate is high.
Yeah, it's really sad that motorcycles account for 15% of all traffic fatalities, but only about 3% of the registered vehicles are motorcycles.
That's right. Riders are way more vulnerable.
Exactly. Per vehicle miles traveled, motorcyclists are about 28 to 30 times more likely to die in a crash than occupants of passenger cars.
Was about 31 deaths per 100 million miles traveled. Compared to that, about 1.1 for passenger cars.
Wow. So motorcycle accident deaths versus car accident deaths is basically 31 motorcyclists die for every one person that dies in a car.
Yeah, so per mile, riding a motorcycle is about 28 times more dangerous than driving a car. It really shows how exposed riders are. Not a steel cage, no airbags, just you and the road.
Exactly. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody from riding because we both ride, but you need to be aware, being aware will definitely, and watching our podcasts just opens your eyes. So you're just aware of the danger that you out there and how to become a little bit more safer on the road. There are some statistics from 2024 to share.
Yeah, overall traffic deaths dipped a bit in early 2024, down around 3.8%. The bad news is that motorcycle accidents rate have not been reduced, and that sucks.
It does. I'm surprised if car accident death rates are going down. I'm surprised that the motorcycle rates aren't going down. But although one thing to note, 2022, 2023 accident numbers were actually the highest ever recorded for motorcyclist fatalities.
Wow. One thing that hasn't changed much is impairment. In 2023, about 26% of riders killed had a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or higher. That's the legal limit in most states. Alcohol, speed, and lack of helmets are still major factors.
And we'll talk about helmets here in a minute.
So what are the main causes?
There's several factors that play a role. The leading ones include, we know how this goes. Cars turning left in front of riders. Drivers not seeing or misjudging the motorcycles. Speeding. About a third of motorcycle fatalities include speed. You just talked about alcohol impairment. Nearly 30% of all riders killed had a blood alcohol concentration over the legal limit. Not wearing helmets. In states without universal helmet laws, the death rate is significant.
That's a tough list. The things that you mentioned are things that, and let's be honest, most riders do, whether they like to admit it or not. And the sad part is that so many of these are preventable.
Absolutely. And that's why the awareness and education is so incredibly critical. Helmets alone are estimated to save like 1,800 lives a year in the United States. And another 750 lives could be could be saved if every rider wore a helmet.
So when people say helmets are just a personal choice, which I think is crazy, the stats show it's actually life or death situation.
Yep. And states with universal helmet laws see much lower fatality rates compared to states without them.
That's right. Like the state I live in, and like say that you live in. Yes. But what about other gear like jackets, jeans, boots?
Well, we talked about gear in episode 3. If you didn't see it, go back and take a look at it. There's a lot of good information there. Although while gear, they don't prevent fatalities the way helmets do, they do reduce the severity of injuries, which can make the difference between life, death, or permanent disability.
So, do the statistics show who's most at risk?
Yes, the average age of riders killed has been increasing. Many fatalities involve riders in their 40s and 50s, but young riders, especially under 30, make up a large percentage of deaths.
Whoa. Experience helps, but nobody's immune.
Right. And another sobering stat, which isn't good for you and me, is that about 91% of riders killed are male. That reflects who's riding more, at least, but it's still very telling. Now, it's easy to get lost in the numbers, but behind each one is a family, a spouse, a child, a parent who won't see their loved one again.
And that's why Blaze on Two Wheels exists to not only educate riders, but to stand by those families in grief.
Exactly. Because when you see these statistics, you realize it's not just about riding, it's about the ripple effect when a life is lost. So, what can riders do to lower these statistics? I know a few things that definitely stand out just from what we've already been talking about. Always wear a helmet and proper gear, like we covered in episode 3. Ride sober, slow down, speed kills. I'm guilty of riding pretty fast, not extremely fast, but a little bit fast. I've slowed down recently. Speed definitely is a huge factor. Take safety courses and keep your skills sharp. I took a safety course called the SMART class with Collier County Sheriff's Office here. It was free. Check in your state for this class. It is free. So look for the SMART class in your state and see if it's provided anywhere. Make sure you're visible with lighting and bright gear like we covered in episode 4.
Yeah, and remember, you can't control the drivers around you, but you can control your preparation and your decisions.
Exactly. Every smart choice chips away at these numbers. And Nestor, I mean, I know. What are some of the things that when you're riding, what are you looking for when you're on a?
Well, most importantly, and I think this is everyone that rides, especially long distance like we do, come back to your family and safety. But most importantly, I think that it's always also have certain amount of fear, but the good kind. Meaning that, for example, and this is something I'm always going to remember. For example, when I was taking my M2 endorsement class in college, I remember the instructor will always tell me, and they always say to everybody, he'll say, always when you go outside to ride, always think that the worst is going to happen because that keeps you sharp and don't overestimate your abilities, overconfident kills. And so these are things that I'm always have in mind. These are things that I always have in mind every time I go out and ride. And of course, the safety factor, nobody's immune to anything that could happen to you on the road. I mean, we both have come to pretty close calls out there. And, the story for another time, but remember the time we were in New York and people in New York drive very crazy. And, you see 2 bikes in there and it's not even the regular cars. Sometimes they're also the trucks. So there's a lot of factors out there when you're riding. And to me, at least, the most important is definitely safety.
Yeah, I mean, over the years of riding, I've learned and I've made a lot of mistakes, and thank goodness it is not killing me. But I know that there's a couple of really, really super key things that I watch for. When I'm on the highway, actually, there's a little story. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been in Tennessee. I think I was traveling in Tennessee. And I was moving. I was moving in probably 10 over the speed limit. And I was in a fast lane and there was a semi truck in the right lane. And just above there, I could see that there was a car that was broke down on the right side of the road. And right away, I should have got out of the gas, waited for the truck, because we know those semi trucks are going to come over, you know? And I actually accelerated, and sure as could be, I'm about halfway up the truck and he starts coming over. And he obviously doesn't see me.
Mm.
I accelerated even more. And by the time I got to the front of the truck. I could actually touch it. He was already almost all the way over in the lane, and I was almost onto, that little bit of shoulder on the side.
Yeah.
I was like there. I could actually reach over and touch his truck. Now,
Mm.
I don't blame the truck driver for that. I blame myself because I knew better and I know better. But that was an awakening for me. And that's something that now I watch for that. And if I see it, I just back down. I just back down and wait until the truck gets past the car, and then I go ahead and overtake the truck. What about you? Anything?
Well, that happened to me actually coming down from Jersey one time. Very close, very similar to what you had. I was actually with the with the motorcycle club. We are coming down. It was maybe like a group of 10, I want to say. And it was raining. It was bad situation, and I think you also have been ever have you been caught in rain as well, and you know how bad it gets, especially when you were a bunch of bikes. And so we were in the right in the slow lane per se, and there was a car parked into the shoulder, and then the emergency pull, in the emergency side, in the side of the road with the blinkers on. We didn't pay much attention to it because usually when the cars have their blinkers on, they stay there for a while and then safely merge back into the highway. So we're coming down, and probably doing like about 60, 50, 60. It was raining, but it wasn't that bad. We could still, you know, keep a good speed there. And so this car out of the blue decides to pull out. No turn signal, no nothing, no warning, nothing. And it pulls out into our lane, and I immediately swerved because if I didn't, I was gonna hit the back of that car and just be done. Now, mind you, this happened when it was raining, and the motorcycle tires. It's not like they do excellent on wet pavement. Thankfully, I was able to react fast, and I had a passenger with me. So imagine that would have been two lives lost right there had I not been aware, had I not been, again with that healthy fear of something, the worst could happen. And so I think that is probably the closest call I had coming down from Jersey that one time.
Well, I wish I could say the same. I've kicked a lot of car doors in my years of riding to where, I'm like right up next to the car and they're coming over and I'm like kicking their door and then they see me and then they run, then they move back over. But that's
Yeah.
happened to me so many times. But it's a little bit different
Right.
when it's a semi truck. When you got to
Mm,
pass a car,
hmm
that's 10 feet long or 8 feet long, but
mm,
trying to get, but
yeah.
I still got like 50 more feet or 30 more feet to get past a
Yeah.
semi truck. It was rough.
They're actually 47 foot long. So
Well, if it's a
that's
53
that's
foot trailer plus the cab,
well, yeah, you're right. So
then
plus
it's a
the
lot.
cab. I'm counting the trailer itself, but yeah, that actually it's and people don't realize this, especially I've seen this in the road many times. Some riders don't realize that it takes longer for a semi to stop, to come to a full stop,
Yep.
whether it's on an empty weight or not. It's just physics. Like it's a lot of weight. It's pulling a lot of weight, even if he's empty or he or she is empty, and it takes like three times longer than a regular car to stop. Motorcycles can stop, in a heartbeat. Like we can stop that bike quick. Even a car might be able to do that, but a semi, it takes a while. And a lot of people, I see them, especially on the road, serving in between semis and going in between. I'm like, I don't think people realize that, these cars, they might be going slow, but even at a slow speed, it takes them a while to stop, to come to a full stop.
Yeah, and I see cars like speed up, they go to, traffic is stop and go. And then you see the car, he speeds up and then cuts the truck driver off. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
got in this spot. Not realizing that they could become a sandwich. But
Oh,
what's
yeah.
worse than that is when you see somebody on a motorcycle do it. And I don't know what they're thinking when they do that, but it drives me crazy. But,
Absolutely.
in the next episode, too, we're going to talk about riding on the street and riding safe on the street and on the highway. So we're going to share some more stories with you guys in the next episode. But this is going to close out episode 5 on Blessed on Two Wheels. Well, I know this is a heavy one, talking about death and the statistics with the motorcycles, but it's necessary.
I mean, Look at it this way. It's a wake-up call, if you would. But they're also a reminder of why we ride smart, gear up, and push safety awareness.
Absolutely. Next time we'll shift into something more hands-on, like I was saying, riding safe on city streets and the highway.
Until then, ride safe, ride smart, and look out for one another.
Keep the rubber side down.
And the riding memory of those who can't.